Welcome to our first SEO video covering on-page meta titles, meta descriptions, and meta keywords. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I want to cover here is the location of this meta information that search engines use to, not only for placement but also equally important for users when they do search for certain keywords that you rank for. They'll find your title and description in the search results of Google. So these are obviously very important aspects of your website, and what we wanted to do is provide you the capability of having some control over these items at the page level. So we're going to start with the Metropolis site. As you can see in Firefox, at the top of the window, you can see Handyman Matters Metropolis, a little pipe character, and then Guaranteed Quality Home Repair, Home Maintenance, and Handyman Services. So what we have is a site title, which is Guaranteed Quality Home Repair, Home Maintenance, and Handyman Services. The Handyman Matters Metropolis is something that we preface the site title with. That is something that you cannot control. It is there for a very valid reason, the structure of which at the geosite level we want to make sure that the company and geosite name is found first, followed by the title. Once we get into a little bit deeper into the pages themselves, then what we do is we switch this format. This is pretty typical, and if you were to go look at any of the real big players out there, you'll find that they typically do this the same way. So this is best practice. Again, not configurable. We have that hard-coded in, but you still do have a lot of capabilities here with editing your titles at each and every page level. This also goes for posts, although for blog posts we have it auto-generated in a little bit better format. So what I will likely show you and recommend is that you leave posts alone, except in maybe some very rare cases. So first of all, we've kind of covered where the title's located. It's in the top of the browser bar, actually in the bar of your browser. That's the case with Firefox, Internet Explorer. And then in Chrome it's a little bit more unique, given that there is no bar at the top. They just do tabs at the top. Regardless, it does work, and the titles continue to be there. Before we get into the details of how to do this, I just want to point out again that your title is one of the most important SEO ranking factors of each page. So if you're going to mess with these, you need to do so very carefully and with a lot of thought. We'll be also adding more instruction around this, and also we'll be going through these geosites as we see things that are working and working well. We'll be trying to communicate that to the whole system, so you can be aware of maybe some better techniques and tactics for getting higher rankings using title. One other thing I want to point out is we see a lot of people try and use this site title, given the importance in SEO, as a way in which to push a lot of keywords in there. Having keywords in the site title is a great idea. It was something that you want to do, but you do not want to stuff keywords in as if it were some keyword list. You will be penalized for it, and the penalties can be significant. So in the interest of your website and your SEO rankings, do not keyword stuff the title. You want to have a nice complete thought, and you want it to be legible for a visitor of your site. So I'm going to pop over here to Google real quick just to show you. Do a little search for Handyman. Handyman Matters. What we can see here is we see our site title: Handyman Matters, Home Repair, and Handyman Services. Nice complete thought. The title shows up, obviously, in addition to just good, strong keywords for the search engines. What we really want to keep in mind is that this information and how it's structured will elicit clicks, or in some cases will turn people off. So this is the site title, and underneath is the site description. And then we have some guidelines as to how many characters you can see up here. Handyman.com, their site description is longer than Google will allow, so they do the ... which doesn't really allow you to complete a thought. You'll notice on a lot of larger sites that they do a pretty good job of managing to the number of characters, so when their visitors see these links and these results, they have a nice complete title and a nice complete description, all of which are visible in the search results. Okay, so that's a kind of a quick overview of what the site title and site description are. Both carry some good SEO weight, the title carrying the most. And then this also shows you a bit about where this information is visible, being in the Google search results, Yahoo, being any search engine will grab the title and the description, and that's what users see when they find your site in a search engine. Let's get on to actually editing this content. So if you're logged into the back end of your site, I'm on the dashboard here, as you can see. If I want to edit certain SEO meta descriptions and titles for a page, I just click on Pages. And then once I'm on the list of pages, when we have this capability activated, which we will by the time you see this video, you'll see an additional 3 columns on your page list: SEO title, SEO keywords, and SEO description. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through this on our About page, just a quick example, and then you'll kind of have an idea of what these fields do and what you should be doing with them. So for the About page, we're going to click Edit, and then we are on the familiar page that is the Page Edit window. As you can see, here's where our page content is, and then underneath, all the way down under Revisions, which we've covered, we have this All-in-One SEO Pack. So in the All-in-One SEO Pack, here's where we add a title, here's where we add a description, keyword lists, and then we'll cover title attribute and menu label, both of which are not in use, and really you should just avoid using them. But I'll show you what they do and why they're there, and we can go from there. So first of all, the title. This is by far the most important aspect of the on-page SEO for your page. The title is what search engines will look at initially to get context of your page, and then everything else they do is based on kind of a comparison to your content to your title. So again, I know we drill this and continue to touch on relevance, but this is a game of relevance. And so what we want to do is make sure that our title is relevant to our content, especially our headings, being heading 1, 2, 3, and 4, again, much like an outline structure. And you can also see here that we have a little character counter, and then it says most search engines use a maximum of 60 characters for the title. So this is a good example of what to do and how to limit your titles. I would highly recommend that in the title field, do not exceed 60 characters. There's been some pretty significant studies that show when people get search results back from Google and their title is got 3 dots at the end and it's not a complete thought, that they tend to click on it much less. The description, not as often. We can go over a little bit, although I personally think, and some studies would suggest, that having a complete thought there is more appealing to people in search engines, and so therefore the click-through rate is supposed to be a bit higher. But it's pretty proven that with a title, you need to keep it at 60 characters or less for the sake of your click-through rate in search engines. So for my About page, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to hop back over to the site and I'm going to click on About. And so once About loads, you can see up here that I have About, which is the label on my page, just my menu, and then I have the pipe character, and then Handyman Matters Metropolis. So this is the opposite format, Handyman Matters Metropolis, the geosite name being at the end, and then each page title being at the beginning. This is the structure that we want and that will dictate. What I'd like to do, though, is I'd like to elaborate a little bit on About. About's very generic, and what I'd like to do is have it say something more like the heading, About Handyman Matters Metropolis. I'm using a keyword in there. I'm also using the geo name. Again, we don't want to keyword stuff. We just want it to be relevant, and we really want to try and cater to your visitors, and in doing so, the search engines typically will fall in place. So I'm going to just type in here about Handyman Matters Metropolis. So you can see is that only really? Hang on a second here. For some reason the character counter didn't work with the autofill. About Handyman Matters Metropolis, it's counted 33 characters, leaving plenty of room for an additional about double that number. If we wanted to expand on that content a little bit, keep in mind that when we're looking at the page, our geo site name, Handyman Matters city name, is going to be included no matter what you put there. So the repetition isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what I would suggest should be your top priority. Your top priority should be something very specific to the page content itself, but again in a title type format. So I'm going to match this. If there's any question at all, match your title to your heading 1. If your heading is longer than 60 characters, then find little ways to abbreviate things or remove extraneous words, but we really want to manage to 60 characters or less. Less being completely fine, more being something that will likely make your click-through rate suffer. So the description's the next real important part, and again, if I flip over here to Google, you can see that this is our description here. We have a brief, complete thought currently on the main Handyman Matters site. If you want to elaborate a little bit, you can, but again, most studies would suggest that 160 characters or less will yield the best click-through rates. So if I come back over here, I've got a little description here. I'm just going to cut and paste, save some time in this video, and I'll paste it in, and it's 147 characters, really close to the 160 mark. Allows me to get a complete thought out. And what I'm really looking for here, more so than SEO keywords, is I'm really looking for I'm looking to explain things about the business that I think will convert people. So clearly at the description level, when I search for a title or when I search for keywords, I get a title and description back. If that description speaks to guarantees and background checks and local and safety and trust is a big item with any online business. What we want to do is focus that kind of information here to help people make decisions. When they read the title and description, what we want is for them to think that they know enough to go ahead and click and learn more on the site. So anything you feel is a really compelling part of your business, then focus that in the description. One additional thing to point out with title and description both, and I say this, but I want you to be very, very careful with it, is that there is some weight put in the order in which keywords are found. So more important keywords for the specific content of the page that you're adding this meta information to, the closer to the beginning those keywords are found, the more relevance, assuming that those keywords are relevant to your page. So don't get in the habit of adding handyman at the very beginning of every title and description. It's overkill, and eventually search engines, and I say eventually, sooner than later, Google especially, will recognize certain tactics that they consider keyword stuffing, and it can land you in a world of hurt, because the Google sandbox is kind of the place where sites that attempt to gain the search engines will often end up, and you'll find that you've dropped out of all rankings. And so again, this is an opportunity to provide the search engine a bit more information, but you really should be writing this for with users in mind, because if your users come and see your title just says handyman a bunch and your description is a bunch of handyman and local words, it's not useful for them. They're not going to click on a result that's just got a bunch of keywords stuffed in it. So be diligent about this part. Now we have meta keywords. So meta keywords used to carry a lot more weight. It used to kind of be the way in which search engines ranked sites for keywords. It is becoming a much more obsolete meta item for every website, especially with sentiment analysis and citations and reviews, and a lot of new capabilities that allow search engines the ability to kind of determine your content without necessarily reading in a list of keywords. That said, there are still search engines that use keywords and put some stock in them, and so what we want to do is, while we're here, let's go ahead and provide some good keywords. Obviously, this about page with a keyword list, we can be a bit more specific, not only at the page level but just at the site level. So obviously we want to do handyman because that's the main business, and we want to do geo names, including suburbs, anywhere that you service. These are all good opportunities to just kind of tag these pages with not only keywords that you find in the content, and that would be the primary list of keywords that I'd want you to use, but you could and even in some cases should go ahead and focus on some local geos that you service. So for this keyword list, I'm going to keep it pretty brief just to give you an idea of kind of how to use the keywords, but know that at the keyword level, this is not necessarily as important as it used to be. Certainly Google's been pretty open and clear about meta keywords being a very dying bit of their SEO rankings, if they even use it at all. It's debatable, but we should assume that everyone's reading them, and we'll kind of quickly create a list on each page. Much like title and description, also the most important keywords you want to list in the closer to the front of your list. That has a little bit of bearing for search engines that still use keywords. Now the last two here, title attribute and menu label, both are specific to this system, not specific to SEO in general, although they're there for a purpose, but that purpose is something that we will likely grow into. What I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add just the term title attribute and menu label so you can see where these are populated, but the way in which we've structured the site, we are not leveraging either one of these in our main navigation. So what I would recommend that you do is leave these blank, and then as we introduce new functionality, that these might come into play down the road, but for now stick to title, description, and keywords. The last little option here is just disabling. You can check that and disable this from the page, from this one page. What I would suggest is, if you don't plan on using it for a page, just don't fill it out. There's no need to disable it. You can just not fill it out, and the site will always use the page label, being this here, as the site title, as a page title, excuse me, and then that will be at least something, and we'll continue to add some automation in the event that many of you don't take this opportunity to customize each page individually. So now that I've gone in and out of my title, my description, keywords, I'm going to go ahead and hit update, and then I'm going to pop over here to the about page, and what I'll want to do is just kind of notice up here I have the about still, and then the pipe, and if I refresh the about page, then you can see now what I have is the site title. Oops. I have the site title I provided, about Handyman Matters Metropolis, much more descriptive. In this case, it happens to match my heading 1, which is fantastic. Again, if Google looked at this, they'd see title and headings match, or at least share a lot of common keywords. That shows relevance. And what you can't see is the description, but if you were to view the page source, then you would see the meta description, which is really more of an invisible kind of tag for search engines. And in the results, you clearly see the description we provided. And then keywords, another thing that you don't see on the page, but there is, but it is visible through the view page source. So I have a little development tool here, and if I look at my heading tag, then what I can see is a title here about Handyman Matters, and it abbreviates it in this little editor just to keep it clean. But you know, and then here's the meta content. So this is the description that we added, and then here are the keywords that we added. Name is keywords, and there are the keywords. So trust that they're there. They're just behind the scenes. They're visible to search engines and not to users, and search engines will use this in their search results. So again, very important. Highly recommend that you take the time to go through and really think about your page content and create a good summarized title and description for each page. If I go back to here, I also want to just show you quickly the title attribute and menu label, what it does and why you don't need to use it right now. So the title attribute and menu label, I've just named them the same so you can clearly see where they'll display. We control the navigation and don't allow these to be adjusted in such a way, but if you go down to this navigation option here, we don't have the same controls, and what you can see is a menu label here for the About page. Since I changed the menu label to just menu label, you can clearly see that it adjusted the menu in the navigation. This will come into play a bit more when we introduce some widgets for navigation and some other options down the road. You'll have the capability of displaying something unique for the label of the menu, but we don't allow it in the main navigation because the real estate is so important, and the keeping a common convention throughout the entire site is critical. So for now, I would say don't use them, because having this read something other than this is, again, not as relevant and a little bit confusing to some of your users. And then lastly, the title attribute. If we just set our mouse there, then the tooltip, the little pop-up, is the title attribute. It allows you to customize both. Again, down the road, these will become likely some features that we'll want to explore and take advantage of, but for now, through the main navigation, we want to maintain a really consistent look and feel. Therefore, we're going to maintain a consistency here and not let this SEO tool dictate the menus. So, that's pretty much the, in short, the SEO capability of this tool. Really handy, should be pretty obvious for you. We're obviously going to be working with this tool quite a bit as well. Certainly doing a lot of testing moving forward, and so if there's questions, encourage you to open up a help ticket. And before I wrap up this video, I also wanted to show you one other thing, that this capability also exists in blog posts. Not only in blog posts that you've written yourself, but you can actually adjust some of the SEO title, keyword, and descriptions of the blog posts that we broadcast. What I will say quickly and kind of qualify this is, I think what you should do instead of creating a bunch of work for yourself is not use the SEO tool for your blog posts. Reason being is that we have it set up to auto-generate based on your category and the blog post name. So in the case of blogging, we typically find that our titles are much more descriptive. They're a little bit longer, which is completely fine. And then we also write the URLs based on category. So if I go back over here to the Metropolis site and I click on blog, then you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and just do top 6 home maintenance tips. when I get to top 6 home maintenance tips, we already have the title of this blog set as your SEO title, and then of course Handyman Matters Metropolis appends to that, which we've hard coded. And then you can also see here in our URL we have our geo name, we have our blogging category, and then we have our SEO title and heading. So for blogging we have them all synced up nicely, very relevant, very clean. For pages they're disconnected a little bit because there is a need for menus to be abbreviated where headings are longer and titles are longer. So you have more flexibility with pages. You actually have the same flexibility with both, but I would highly recommend leaving the blog posts alone, given that you have we have an automated solution in place that just requires less work, and you can rest assured that it's going to be in a really good, strong format. If you felt like you really wanted to get crazy and you have a bunch of extra time in your hands, by all means you could potentially reuse some tags as keywords. But again, know that keywords have little, in some people's opinion, no bearing in Google. There's argument in Bing and Yahoo as to what their weight is anymore, but meta keywords was kind of a thing of the past. Search engines have progressed enough now to be able to parse through your content and really understand what your site's about. So I hope this video helps. I know that it was kind of quick, but I don't want to tie you guys up forever watching videos, and instead, get out there, really try and summarize what your pages are about, provide an appropriate SEO title, 60 characters or less, and then provide what will be a very compelling description in hopes that when a visitor finds a page in Google search results, they read a description that says something along the lines of here: guaranteed quality home repair. Any kind of guarantees is obviously very compelling. You just really want to focus on things that you think will elicit a click response, and the description is one of the best places to do that. And then title is not only a great opportunity to increase your click-through rates, but it's also one of the most important SEO factors for your pages. So again, hope this video helps, and if you guys have any questions specific to the SEO tool, All-in-One SEO, please open up a help ticket and we will respond as soon as we can. Thank you. One last note about your site title and site description. You'll notice if you edit the title and description of your home page that it will not be displayed in the title bar when you look at the home page of your geo site. Reason being that the title and description that shows up when you actually land on your main geo site homepage is the site title and not a page title. So what we'll do is we'll be providing an automated capability to take the content you provide on your homepage for SEO title and SEO description, and we'll programmatically push that out to the actual site title, which is managed at more of the super admin level. So that's something we'll handle. So if you get to a point where you've edited SEO title and description for page titled home, and you go to your geo site URL and you notice that that site title and description has not been updated, do not panic. We will be taking that content and pushing it, but it is available at a higher administrative level, and so we'll be taking your suggestions on your homepage and be pushing them out to site title. So not to worry, just wanted to add that one little caveat there to try and reduce your confusion. Thank you.